My name is Damon Brown. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV. Thank you for coming through on all the platforms. Some of y'all are on Amazon, y'all coming through now. Some of y'all over on LinkedIn. Shout out to y'all that are coming to the original platform over at Bring Your Worth TV, sponsored by YouTube. Thanks so much for coming through. I am an entrepreneurial coach. I help people who are side hustlers, solopreneurs, and otherwise non-traditional entrepreneurs. I have 2 degrees in journalism, but you couldn't tell that by the way I'm talking right now. But I've worked with hundreds of y'all. I think we're approaching thousands of y'all that I've worked with directly. I do one-on-one coaching. You can learn more about that at damonbrown.net and see some of the pedigree as far as the startups that I've done and some of the organizations that I've worked with, including TED and Heroic Public Speaking. I appreciate y'all so much. You're watching Bring Your Worth Show. I come to you every Wednesday live at 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. It is hot over here in Vegas. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. I got to turn up the AC again. It's about 111 right now. So, man, Vegas is not playing this year with the summer. I'm sure wherever you're at, you're probably going to be hot over there too. You can actually subscribe to bringyourworth.tv for free. Hit the link below. If you're on Amazon, you can hit the follow button. I think that's what they call it now. If you're on LinkedIn, of course, you can follow me on LinkedIn as well. We don't need to connect. You just hit the follow. You'll see what's happening. But you probably want to come to the OG, the original one over at Damon Brown or damonbrown.net helps. But at bringyourworth.tv, you can also get my latest collection, the Bring Your Worth, complete Bring Your Worth collection. It is my, wow, I think it's 7 books in here. So some of the collections are in this collection, starting with the original bestseller, which y'all helped so much, the Bite-Sized Entrepreneur, the Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur is in here, as well as Bring Your Worth, which of course is the eponymous name of my publishing company, as well as my business, and of course what you guys are watching now. And my personal favorite, I am biased. It's like picking your favorite kid. Build from now, how to know your power, see your abundance, and nourish the world. Actually, I wrote that at a very tough period of time for me and for a lot of us. I wrote it in summer of, it came out in summer, I believe, of 2021. And if you remember where the world was at, where we were all at, I felt like I needed to get something out that talked about what we were dealing with. It was one of those rare times, which we're kind of dealing with now. Things go full circle, where it feels like the world's almost pausing and there's all these rapid changes. I'm here in America. If you just watch it, just grab the New York Times. I read the Washington Post myself. Grab that and just get the headlines from the last couple of weeks. And there's just been so much stuff that's been happening. It's almost like we're trying to get our grounding. That reminds me of the period of time 2 or 3 years ago when I did Build From Now. So there's certain things in that book that are still relevant today. Anyway, feel free to check out the book, the complete Bring Your Worth collection. It includes Build From Now, or of course you can grab individual books at your favorite bookseller. And also, if you click that link below right there, the audiobook is actually available here on this program. It is an 8, maybe 9 hour audiobook. You can get it at all the different platforms, but I'm actually making it available because I own my own publishing company. I want to share with y'all. It's like, hey, and a lot of y'all, which some of y'all are watching, I coach y'all, but you're overseas or you're someplace where you can't get to a bookstore, or even your favorite audio platform. Not gonna put them on blast, but your favorite audio platform might not be available literally because of government intervention. But YouTube's available most of the time. Go and check it out. It's my gift to you, and you'll be supporting the show, of course, as well. Today's episode, oh man, you guys know me. I love travel. I love travel. I love travel. I love travel. Today's episode is business travel on a budget. This matters for so many different reasons for us as solopreneurs, as side hustlers, as non-traditional entrepreneurs, as I am. When I did my 2 startups while I was stay-at-home dad with my partner and I's first son, he was from when he was around 4 months old to selling my second startup when he had turned 2 years old. He just turned 11. So, I've been been in the game for a little while. Most of the time afterwards has been, of course, spending time with my family and supporting y'all. When you're in those positions as a non-traditional entrepreneur, you usually have limited resources. I talk about this in Build From Now. It seems to be the theme of the day, where you're limited on your time, you're limited on your energy. I'm middle aged. Might see some of the gray hairs here. Or, what we talk about the most is you're limited on your finances. But you still want to have a touch point with the people that you're trying to serve. When my 2 co-founders and I started Cuddler, which is the biggest startup I was a part of, we bootstrapped it. At our peak, we had about 250,000 or so users. I was still emailing and connecting with people every day. That was my main role, was co-founder as far as the marketing, getting out there, as well as with I guess you call it the community management, we call it nowadays. And I still have a little bit of light carpal tunnel because of those days, even though that was almost 10 years ago. My point is that we're able to have that growth partially because I did create that intimacy with Cuddler, which was an app that connected people for hugs. So if you're going to have a Tinder or a Grinder kind of app, but a platonic version of it, and it's connecting people for hugs, then are you going to have a chat bot, which was just coming into vogue at the time? You're going to have a chat bot do it? No, you can do it yourself. My whole point is that we need to find ways to create that intimacy because we're solopreneurs, because we're side hustling. But our resources might be limited as far as how we can actually connect with people and do that work. Some of those limitations are based, in my case, on travel. Like, okay, you got two little kids at home. I had a second son. So you got two little kids at home. How are you going to travel? Okay, well, there's a mortgage to be paid. And your startup isn't making money yet. So how are you going to afford that trip, to go see a venture capitalist or to go to this conference that's focused on that? So this is a really important episode to me because if you're struggling with that and you're dealing with that, I've been in your shoes because you want to create that non-scalable experience, as they call it, those things that can't scale, that create that intimacy, right? That one-on-one conversation, that flight to see that one client, those kind of things. But oftentimes it's coming out of our pocket or coming out of our business budget. We're going to talk about three efficient ways that you can actually do the business travel to create that intimacy without breaking the bank. And today's episode is sponsored by Navin Travel, the ultimate manager of your business travel. Thank you so much for the support. I just talked with them earlier this week. Loved the conversation. I was like, I gotta share it with my people here. So that's how they came aboard. It's all about travel today. Let's go and take a quick look at Navin and see what they're doing because they are doing some fascinating stuff over there. And the best thing I can do is show you. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do it live. There it is. Hopefully you guys can see it. All right, looking good. All right, all right. Feel like Matthew McConaughey today. All right, so it looks very basic right here, right? You're like, oh, okay, it's kind of a you know basic third party da da da, but it's deeper than that. The first thing you need to know about Navin is that it's actually free. There's no cost to you, so it's completely free. Free to use, which again goes back to being mindful of the budget. It's like, yeah, let's be thoughtful about that. The second thing it does is that it actually organizes all your information. So from the group travel things, if you're traveling with your family, or even if you're traveling with your co-founders. So with my co-founders and I, back when I did Cuddler, we traveled together. We went together. Well, last trips we did was visit WWDC, which is a big developers conference for Apple. It was even bigger than it is today. It was really big at the time. So we met up in San Francisco, hung out there. It was actually a really good time. And that was a few months before we sold the company. So it was a great experience to meet in person. This is, I wish something like this existed because we did have a certain budget and we were trying to get organized in a certain way. It organizes all your stuff for you. And so you have your company account, you go ahead and do the basic thing. Las Vegas, which is where I'm based, I already have a loyalty program here. You guys know I'm hardcore Delta. So Delta's already in here. They got all the programs. And so they will organize that for you. Now, we're going to get into that a little bit later on in the show as far as did you know that your company actually can have a frequent flyers program as well? That goes, I believe, for hotels as well, but definitely for airlines. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, it keeps all that in order. As you can see, your flights. Let's say I'm trying to go to Dubai. There you go. Never been there before, but hint, hint. Look forward to going there in the future. Flights, hotels, trains. Love trains, as well as rental cars. Right. So you got the basics covered there. The thing you need to know about Navin is that they actually started as very, very corporate, big B2B, business to business. So we're talking the major companies, you name a major startup, and they probably have been working with Navin for years. A well-funded company, they've been working with the big guys for a little while. The shift happened where a few months ago, I want to say about 6 to 9 months ago, from talking to them, Suddenly they're like, well, let's go ahead and give this to the side hustlers, the solopreneurs, the small and medium sized businesses. How can we give them these same powerful tools? So you're having the same stuff that the big guys have. So it's organizing all your info from passports. It's actually logged to my account, so I'm not going to show you that part because you don't need my passport info. That's why I'm being a little bit coy with it. But you see, I'm logged in. So the passport information, your loyalty programs, all those other things. It actually connects to the different rewards programs. If you click to that, it actually connects to the different rewards programs. Again, we'll click on this again. That's my Sky Miles number. If you guys want to give me points, go for it. That's my Bond Boy number too. Hey, feel free to use my number. But it'll automatically organize that. So with a lot of third-party organizers or platforms, then they'll go and say, okay, you can do it through us, but then you're going to have to work it out with, with Delta, with Marriott, with whomever, and set that up. You're just going to have to work it out with them. There's often a gap. Again, I'm not going to name names, but I've been in situations where I haven't gotten the points I'm supposed to get. Number one, they're connected directly to the place they get the points. I'm the points guy, not Brian Kelly. Shout out to him. Hope you're doing well. But I am a points guy where I'm really into the points. So those points are being pushed over, as well as, which I'll get into later on in the episode, the business points that you're getting for your business. Those are being transferred over. And so this is the same as booking directly through them, except of course it's highly organized. What I really like about this though, this is what takes it over the top. Because like, yeah, Damon, okay, there's a lot of great details. It's aggregate, yeah. What I love about this is we'll get to the group travel. You can actually set parameters, whether it's you, if you're the founder, if you're a co-founder and you're handling the budget, if you're a CEO, and you have people who work with you, such as an executive assistant or other folks and you're all going to be traveling at the same time. You can actually set parameters to what travel is being done. So you can go and say, okay, we're going to go to Sheboygan. I think that's in Wisconsin. We're going to go to Sheboygan and we're going to hang out there. All right, bet. Alice, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and book your flight, whatever works best for your schedule. And Dwayne, go and book your flight as long as we go here and we're going to be staying at this hotel. You can put these parameters into Nav and Travel and say, okay, when Alice is booking your trip, they can do anything as long as it's not over $500 because it shouldn't cost $500 to fly to Sheboygan, or that's our budget. Then using AI as well as other parameters are able to work within that. In other words, it gives you the space to go ahead and say, I'm going to set up these parameters. Whoever is working for my company, even if it's my co-founders, whatever, they can do it themselves and work within that. So personally, I do a lot of public speaking. I've spoken at the different TED conferences and other things. And whenever I get a speaking gig, I learned early on, I want them to go ahead and give me money for the travel or to bake it into whatever my pay is. And then I'll go and book it myself. Now I'm a travel nerd, so of course I want to book it myself, but it's also a matter of booking it myself because particularly when like I really got serious about public speaking. I'm pointing like over there because these little kids were like here. And I'm a stay-at-home dad. So it might be me doing a red eye to get to Bogota, shout out to Bogota, to do a speech down there. And then I fly back that evening and do the long flight. So my crazy schedule, particularly at that time, they're a lot older now. It was a lot easier when I was flexible with it. It provides you with that. So it's one less thing you need to handle. It's free. If you use my link below, go in there. I talk to them. It's free to y'all. So have a blast and use that as your travel hub and have lots of fun with it. Thanks so much for them for sponsoring the show. And hopefully that'll give you some good insight. So shout out to Navin. Again, all the links are below. Feel free to subscribe and to check out Navin at this point too. All right. I love when technology works. All right. So the first step, if you're trying to get on a budget with your travel, you still need to go places, is to create a business account. I hinted at this earlier in the episode. Excuse me. This is a really key thing. There's two different frequent flyer accounts that you have, and we're going to focus on airlines. There's the frequent flyer number, which you saw my frequent flyer number. So the frequent flyer number, where it's just like It's not like a social security number. It's not a secret thing. Again, I just showed mine earlier in the episode. But you put that in when you book a ticket, and then when you fulfill that particular flight, then you get the points for it. That frequent flyer number is tied to your status. So when I had elite status earlier on Delta, or way back in the day when I had executive platinum, I think that's what it was called on American Airlines, then they actually will show you certain seats that aren't available to people that don't have status, et cetera, et cetera. You might be able to have a little bit of a heavier bag. You might get a drink free when you're on the plane. All those different perks, you're probably familiar with those. What you might not know, though, is that there's a whole separate program for all the major carriers, the big three, as well as I'm thinking of the Kendrick lyric. It's like, not the big three, it's the big me. But there are three big ones that have this, but so do some of the smaller ones. I believe Alaska has them. I don't think Southwest does, but I have some relatives that fly Southwest a lot. They probably have a business version of that, but it's available to us, not just, again, similar to Navin, the sponsor of this episode. It's available to us. Like, so you don't have to be this big corporation. You can be just a few degrees higher than a solopreneur and have other people flying for you that are part of your business, your assistants, whatever, and then you can go ahead and sign up for this. The three different ones for the big three are Delta, which is, my one right now. Again, all the travel episodes, I'm always talking about Delta. I love them as a carrier, and I think they're fantastic. I've been on Delta Business for quite a while. Yeah, but they have Delta Business. There's United Business, and there's American Airlines, of course. American Business, not American Business, not the country, but the airline. What's great about these is, and all the links are below if you missed it, are two different things. First of all, you're able to set up this whole different frequent flyer program based on your business flights. So if I'm flying and I happen to buy tickets for my partner and my kids and all that stuff, then it's like, yeah, I might have a credit card and might get points from that. But other than that, I'm just getting points for whatever my thing is, right? So whatever Damon Brown is flying on, that's what I get points for in the traditional thing. With the business program, you actually get points for when you and or other people within your organization, people that are working with you or for you, are actually flying. Those perks, they get individual perks. That's an opportunity, but you're also getting perks because you are the business owner. You are the one in charge. If you happen to have a big enough business where you have a travel manager, or that kind of thing, someone who organizes that stuff, that would be their role. But there's a certain amount of points that come back to the organization. The second thing is that those points aren't just, oh, okay, I get a certain amount and I can get a free ticket to Dubai or whatever. Dubai seems to be the theme today. But it's not just that. It's also these other perks that don't cost as many of these particular business points. So it could be a drink coupon. It could be an upgrade from main cabin to Comfort Plus, which is, of course, the Delta version of it, but kind of that space between coach and first class. It might be X amount of business points, and then you're able to upgrade them. Doesn't cost you anything. There's no fees. Done. And in fact, that's number three. All these programs are free, so you can join them like right now. The requirements for them are all different. Some of them, and they're always changing, some of them require you to have at least three or so other people that are flying with you to be considered a business. And it could be your assistant, it could be someone that helps you with your business. It doesn't have to be strictly an employee, but someone that's involved with your business. You also sometimes need to verify that you actually have a business, where that's a EIN number or giving your website or whatever. But it's relatively smooth. Even when I had a smaller business than I have today, I was able to join these programs. It's absolutely worthwhile. And you can actually add this business number, which again, it's a separate number. You can add this business frequent flyer number to your regular flights, to your business flights. And so you're getting your regular frequent flyer points, and then you're getting your business frequent flyer points, and it doesn't cost anything extra. So take advantage of that. If you're going to be flying all around the country and you're going to be doing all this stuff, in my case, back in the day, flying all around the world to different places, if you're going to do that, you might as well maximize your miles. Again, shout out to Brian Kelly again over at the Points Guy, but it's the way, as they used to say, of double dipping. You're taking one flight, but you're getting the equivalent of twice as many points for it, twice as many miles. And as I think it was last year where I did a little bit more traveling because with us sheltering in place, I'm just starting to get back into traveling. I think it was last year where my business points like really added up. And I wasn't even checking on them. I'm like, oh, okay. And I was able to use those for different things for my business. So it really comes in handy. That would be my first number one tip. Do it right now. Do it right now. All the links are below. If there's one like Alaska or Southwest, or I think JetBlue might have one, just go to their website and see if they have it. I couldn't list all of them here, but majority of the major ones have it, and definitely the big three have it as well. We are talking about business travel on a budget. How are you budgeting your business travel? How are you maximizing your points? And have you set up a business account already? Have you set up a business account with the airlines? I think some of the hotels have it as well. I love to hear your comments. I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown. You're watching Bring Your Worth. I come to you every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You subscribe for free and on all the platforms, either the link below or follow, check in, whatever they're calling nowadays. I spend so little time on social media compared to other things that they keep changing names. I'm like, I don't know, but you know what button to hit, and then you'll be seeing you'll be seeing this mug, once or twice a week as we go forward. So number one, you want to go ahead and create a business account. Please do that. Let me know if you've already done that, and give me some game. Maybe there's some insight that I have that you have that I don't have. Love to hear more about that. Second thing is do the insurance. This is an important thing. Do the insurance. It's become a little bit more commonplace now, but even back in the day, when you do a hotel, or particularly when you do an airline purchase and you're going overseas, da, 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 they have that option to say, all right, are you going to insure this? And it usually, oh, I should look up the percentage. Maybe if you know, you can tell me in the chat. But it usually ends up being a percentage of how much the flight costs. So it might be 1% of the flight. I don't know, maybe a little bit more, 2% of the flight. So if you have $1,000 flight that you're doing, then it might cost you 20 bucks. It's usually not that expensive. When you do that, you're able to go ahead and say, all right, this happened. I need to get out of this. I've recently had a funeral in the family. We're doing okay, but everybody's been pretty sad about it. That happened to hit when we were traveling. So that forethought to say, do the insurance, that's for such situations like that. So instead of giving a call to the hotel or the airline, whatever, and saying, hey, we had a death in the family, the funerals happen on this day, we can't make it on there, but like you can just skip all that rigmarole. Instead, you go ahead and send information to Alliance with a Z is one of them that's really popular. You'll see that in the airlines. There's some other ones, but again, they're easy to find because they've actually collaborated with these travel companies to actually allow the insurance. So yes, you might have got an excellent deal on your flight or your hotel, and you're like, I want to pay exactly $500. And if I go ahead and get this insurance, it's going to be $510. I don't feel good about that. I can get like that sometimes. I understand. You got my sympathy. I hear you. But then that $10 doesn't, that's not, you know, as painful as being in a situation where you have to take this trip or you're not able to say goodbye to a loved one or whatever because you can't change the situation or you just lose a ton of money because you decide not to go. So take advantage of that. It's worth the money. Again, it's a lot easier than it was back in the day where you have to like get the travel insurance separately. And it's like, oh my gosh, like who wants to go through that? I've been through that a few times and just do it. A good opportunity that we have is a new place called Safety Wing Nomad Insurance. Yeah, it sounds like my kind of thing, right? If you're familiar with my work, since we all tend to be on our own, and I'm definitely in the solopreneur camp. Shout out to Safety Wing. They have two different sets of insurance. Insurance for nomads. I think a lot of my 20s and 30s, I was a nomad, so I moved so much and all those things. So that would fit me. Not so much now. I'm pretty, I'm not going anywhere like that. Vegas is going to be home for a little while, that kind of thing. So for nomads, so if you're traveling a lot, particularly if you're traveling outside of the country, they will hook you up with that. Then, which ties into the bigger business thing, depends on the size of your business. I've been a solopreneur for a while. So the nomad insurance makes sense. But if you have people, and some of y'all that I coach, you got people, right? Let me get my people. Let me talk to this person. I need this person to be there because they do this role. You're of another scale. They got you covered. Insurance for remote teams. And so that fits the current lifestyle. That's why I wanted to highlight that today because it fits the current lifestyle that we have today. Both of them are fantastic. One, as it says, is for individuals and families. So again, I got little ones. We're not as little as they used to be, but I'm covered in insurance now. But if I needed to, then they'll be the hookup. And of course, remote teams for companies. So they have different products, different situations here, and then you get more details as far as how they work, where they work. What I like about them, and that's actually the bird thing, just cracks me up, having your home country on the internet. What I love about this discussion is basically saying, okay, you can be in Morocco, you can be in Colombia, you can be in Japan, all places that I've been. And some of those times I've been in those places, I wasn't covered like that. Blue Cross Blue Shield wasn't trying to hook me up in Bogota. You know what I'm saying? And I know friends, people I care about who've gotten sick overseas. Luckily, I was not one of them. You hear me knocking on wood for real. So it's better again to get the insurance, get the coverage, especially we are all getting older. So I'm not as healthy as I was in the past. I don't spring back as much because I'm middle aged. A lot of us, and in fact, a lot of y'all that are watching are going into that phase too, right? Where it's not just, flying overseas, staying in a hostel for 7 days, which I've done before. Some of y'all have done too. Some of y'all that I've coached have had that lifestyle. But as you start to phase out of that, as you start to have little kids, or maybe you have older parents you need to take care of, maybe you have a team and you got people to take care of. This is a really smart way to do it without you having to go into the open health insurance marketplace here in America and then hope that they cover you when you're hanging out in Osaka. This is a great way to do it. So shout out to Safety Wing. Really fascinating stuff that they're doing over there for sure. If you want more insight into how you can travel without even without needing insurance at all, and you might be in a position where you're like, yeah, Damon, I'm traveled out. I'm not going anywhere. No. Here are ways you could travel without leaving home. I think it's a really important discussion. Some of y'all that I support, either y'all are viewers or I have one-on-one coaching with y'all. You can learn more about my coaching practice at damebrown.net if you're interested. You might not physically be able to travel because of a chronic illness, or we talk about spoons culture, right? How many spoons do you have today? Like how much energy do you have today? You might not be able to travel in this season. You might be like, no, I need to rest. Wonderful people that I know. Shout out to Ellie Cole, who's supporting the sickle cell community. I've learned so much about them over the last few months. Shout out to her. But so many people within my network are dealing with or are connected to people who are dealing with those types of things. It might be a thing where you got little kids at home, as I was for the first couple of years of our first son's life. And it's like, maybe you're not traveling like that. This is a great way to travel without leaving home. Check it out. If you are going to be on the road, Smart Holiday Travel 2024. Don't be fooled by the title of it. It happened to come out during the holidays. I wouldn't say it came out in the holidays here in the United States. I want to say December, which feels like every religion has some type of ceremony in December, including my Hindi in-laws and my fam over there. But it fits that motif. But all things that I talk about apply to everything, including business travel. Be sure and check it out. Check out the vibe there and see what's happening. But yeah, do the insurance. Do the insurance. If you're staying at home, fine, don't do the insurance. But if you're gonna be on the road, do the insurance. And it could be again you paying the 1 or 2% of the cost of the trip to do the alliance or whatever respective insurance they're offering. Most of the time they offer it right at checkout. Really easy. They'll put it right into the same credit card or whatever you're using. Doesn't have to be a separate thing, and you'll get a little contract. You don't have to sign it, but just a contract. in your email later on. It'll be like, okay, this is the guidelines. Da, 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 da. Great, you're good. Or if you're actually going to be um, traveling and you want to make sure that you're covered health wise, you and your people as applied, then check out Safety Wing. Again, the link is below. Shout out to them for the interesting work they're doing over there. Today we're talking about how to do business travel on a budget. So important. How are y'all connecting with folks? Do y'all usually do insurance or do you do special travel insurance through like a credit card? Some of the credit cards offer that. How are you guys handling insurance? Have you been sick on the road before? How did you handle that? I always have a fear of that. Luckily, knock on wood, it hasn't happened to me, but that sounds wild. How did you deal with that when that happened? Feel free to jump in the comments and let me know what some of your experiences have been. I'm sure other people will appreciate that too. All right. So, number one, create a business account. Number two, do the insurance. And number three, so I get this other banner off. My fingers are not cooperating today. Number three, maximize your purchases. Maximize your purchases. I look at it like this. There's been some years where I've spent maybe not tens of thousands of dollars, but definitely thousands and thousands of dollars on travel, to hotels, to conferences, especially when I was starting off early and it was like I wasn't getting paid like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well, I got to fund my own way and then speak at this event or network at this event. I was spending a lot of money. If you're gonna spend all that money, you might as well maximize it. My personal um, approach, which has helped me a lot, is to experiment with the different um, brands. Like we'll talk about the brands we talked about earlier in the episode. Um, Experiment with Delta, American Airlines, and United. Take a flight with, all right, take one trip and fly with one, take another, fly with another. See where their hubs are. If you're close to a hub, I live in Las Vegas, so everything's kind of a hub here. So I kind of got the cheat code by living here. Kind of like living in New York. It's kind of that kind of vibe where a lot of them go direct. Um, but if you're living in Phoenix, I know American Airlines has a hub there, right? If you're in Chicago, I used to live in Chicago. Shout out to Northwestern. Then then United is the hub there, right out over here. If you're living in Atlanta, Delta is the hub there, but they also have smaller hubs. If you live by one of those hubs, then your flights are probably going to be cheaper, and et cetera, et cetera. But once you make that decision, personally, what's worked for me is to stick with it, not to go with whoever's cheaper, but to stick with it. And I say that for a few different reasons. Number one, you're able to, as I talked about previously in the episode, you're able to build up those particular frequent flyer points or perks. And as I talked about earlier, and all the links are below if you happen to miss that part of the segment, each of the major carriers and even some of the smaller ones have two different sets. They have the frequent flyer points, and of course they have the business points, which you talked about earlier in the episode. You're going to start racking those up. If you take, again, back to the airlines, if you take United one time, and then you take Southwest next time, and then you take Delta this time, and it's like your points can be all over the place. And maybe over the course of several years, you'll be able to accrue enough to, get yourself a drink coupon or maybe get yourself a one-way flight. It's the economics, and it is economics of the flights as well as the hotels are so tough nowadays that it's better that you're loyal to a certain thing. You can also learn the ins and outs of certain of certain carriers or certain hotels. Like I like Marriott hotels a lot, but I know them inside and out. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. I know what my experience is going to be. If you're doing a red eye, and I'm on the West Coast, so red eyes aren't uncommon for me to get to the East Coast or somewhere overseas. Because I was overseas earlier this year. If you're doing a red eye, and then you're deciding to do Hilton this time, and you're going to do La Quinta next time, da da da, new motels like that's like you don't know. I like to have the consistency, so I would recommend that's the strategy that's worked really well for me. I'd recommend picking one and trying to stick with it, even if you sometimes have to pay a premium. I think the consistency helps, and then you're able to rack up those things. Me working with Marriott as well as me working with Delta, there's so many free flights, so many free hotel rooms, and things I've gotten because I've been loyal to those particular things. But Again, if you're not sure, I'd recommend taking maybe the rest of this year if you're doing a lot of flights and try the different carriers. See what you like, what you don't like. And that might be part of the vibe. Another thing, if you're going to be spending all this money, I would recommend grabbing a credit card. Now, number one has to depend on financially where you're at. Please be careful with credit cards. I've been there. It's really easy to have too much on there and go crazy. So, my instance that I'm talking about is there's a flight you need to get, your company and or you can afford it. You pay with a credit card and then you take the money from that business account or from your account and you pay for it. That's what I'm saying. Don't just put it on there. No. Again, been there before. We've all made those kind of challenges and mistakes. Most of us have at least. Shout out to you if you have not. I certainly am not above that at all. But this is the vibe that I'm talking about right here. And it's a thing of maybe you do need to do it remotely if your business can't afford to do that flight at the time. If you're going to go this route, though, and you rock with Delta as I do, I highly recommend the Delta Gold Card. I've had it for, so I started flying with Delta maybe 10 years ago, around the time I sold Cutler. It's right. Yeah, I'm saying right, like you know what it is. But it's about 7, 8 years ago. I sold Color in 2015, so whatever it is, 9 years ago. About 9 years ago, I started rocking with Delta. I love Delta, big fan of theirs, and even ethically, I like a lot of the stuff that they're deciding to do. And shortly after, I was like, I'm rocking with Delta. I got the gold card. Number one, your bags are free for you, and I want to say three of your companions, maybe four. I have a family of four. I'm like, bet, and I'm a I've like I think the first time I went to Japan, I went there with like a large backpack, and I was there for a week. I'm one of those people. The rest of my family is not. We'll put it like that. So being able to check in 2 bags apiece, that's eight. Can my fingers right? 8 bags, 8 bags for free. Done. I think there's a nominal fee. I think it's at this as of this live show, it's under $100 a year. So if you've been flying recently, if you're going to check one bag, I want to say it's $50. I haven't paid for a bag in so long, I can't remember what it is. But I think it's 50. For some folks, it's 60, 65. I think it might be for overseas. And it's just going up and up and up. Way back when I first started traveling, they didn't charge to check in the bag. This is where we're at right now. So number one, with this card, and like you and your party of four can check in 2 bags apiece for free. 8 bags if you're doing a Europe trip or going to Africa, whatever, you're good. You're good. It does have to be on the same ticket. I don't know if you have to charge it on the card. I don't think you do, but it has to be on the same ticket. In other words, the ticket needs to be those that party needs to be purchased at the same time, right? So oftentimes that ends up being on the same card anyway. That's one really big perk. The second perk is that you are able to check in faster. So I want to say your main cabin one, but they always are changing that. So even if you're a coach and you have no elite status, da da da, you're still able to get in a little bit earlier onto the plane. Number three, you get 2 to 3 points for Delta purchases. And also, I believe you also get some extra points if you spend it at restaurants or at supermarkets. And they're changing it as we're speaking right now. So that might be changing, but that's the basic premise. You're able to get all that. Again, the annual fee is less than $100. Be sure and check it out. I think with my referral code, you might even get some bonus points. And usually, the amount of points that you get for signing up for a deal like this ends up being in the tens of thousands. The last time I checked, and I have some other flights that are coming up. Again, I was working with Navin earlier. Shout out to our sponsor, and I was checking out some flights for later on this year during the holidays. And I'm thinking like for Delta, a flight within the United States, contiguous United States, not Hawaii or Alaska, might end up being 24,000 points. I know for a lot of these credit card offers, they're talking 50, 60, 70, 80. Some of them are actually in the hundreds of thousands, believe it or not. I saw one offer recently for 110,000 points if you signed up. And I think you spent a certain amount on the card within the first 3 to 6 months, depending on the deal. These deals always change, but if you're interested in it, this would be the time to do so. The deals seem to be really high, so there might even be some other credit card offers I share with y'all once I figure out what's happening because There's some good stuff out there, and I'll keep y'all posted if there's some other interesting stuff that I see out there. And of course, you'll be supporting the show because I will get feedback and support to do Bring Your Worth if you end up doing the link. So if you're gonna do it, go and support the show, see what's happening. And of course, I would let to get out the bag. I'm a big Marriott guy at this point. Shout out to Marriott. I respect y'all. And this card works really well for several reasons. Number one, you get, I think, 3 times the amount of points for Marriott points. If you're not familiar as much with hotels as you are with airlines, they have the same type of points program. And so you add up these points, and then for 10,000 points, you're getting maybe a free night at a hotel. So it adds up really quickly. With this particular card, the Bonvoy business card, I want to say you're getting 5 points for every dollar spent uh, for a Marriott property. And Marriott includes, believe it or not, I'm right down the street from the Strip, so that includes now MGM, Luxor, Excalibur, and I mean MGM Grand. Just to be clear, there's a handful of them because they're acquiring those properties. So you're coming to Vegas, which I would welcome you. You're coming to Vegas to the Strip. You can actually use this card and then get buku points for it. And of course, we got the cheaper hotels here. You got to watch out for the resort fees though. But the the hotels here are super cheap on the Strip. You can take advantage of that. Pay $100 for a night for a hotel, but then end up getting 500. I think they have some bonus stuff, 500, maybe 1,000 points, depending on when you're able to click in there. So number one, you're able to go ahead and get a multiple on whatever you spend at the Marriott properties. Number two, they actually put in bonus nights. And so the way that hotels work, at least with Marriott, I think quite a few of them work as well. What they basically do is say, look, you're not getting elite status by spending money or by doing a certain amount of miles. That doesn't make any sense. That's the way that the airlines do it. It makes sense for the Deltas, Americans, the Uniteds, the Southwest, and so forth. But we're going to give you points based on how many nights you stay, and not your friends, but you stay at night. You giving, you saw my number earlier, but you giving your Marriott number or, Hilton, whatever, they're all the same. And then put in that number and say, okay, Damon stayed for one night in this property, great. The amount of nights that you stay, if you hit, say, 25 nights, then your status goes up. If you hit 50 nights, your status goes up. I have fairly high status with Marriott. Again, shout out to them. That's why I talked about focusing. That's what helps with that. I'm a focus guy. I have a shirt around here. If you see the earlier episodes from, I want to say early last year, I had a shirt that said focus. It was like my family got me that shirt because that's a big thing of mine. That's why focus helps so much because like then you're able to rack up those nights. The key thing here with the Marriott Bonvoy business card, and there's like 6 different flavors of them. You can click the link, you'll see the different ones. Again, it's a referral, so you get a big bonus for it. Of course, I get something from it too, and you be supporting the channel. If you click on there, there's like about 6 or so different ones, all different flavors. There's like the advanced ones, just like the airline cards I talked about earlier. But for all of the cards, when you first get the card, and definitely when you renew the card, because it's an annual thing, when you renew the card, you get bonus nights. So I have one of these cards, and every time I hit the anniversary of me having the card, then they're like, hey, in my case, I want to say it's 10, 10 or 15. They're like, hey, Damon, here's 15 bonus nights. And so I go to the TED conference, which is like a week long, or I go to ASJ, shout out to American Society of Journalists and Authors, or I go to somewhere else. I take my family on a trip somewhere, whatever. I just like spend the week in a hotel, and I've already gotten another status because the bonus seats are in the card. So you hit the annual thing, and it's like, bet, Damon, here's your 15. I think it is 15 night bonus, bet. So you can get multiple cards if you want, or you go ahead and be dedicated to one particular card. Again, all the flavors are right there. Click on it, see which card fits you the best. Most of them, I think some of them do not have annual fee, and then some of them have a higher annual fee, but because they have bigger benefits. And of course, there's other benefits to it, like they have restaurant programs, they have trip protection. Talked about that earlier. That was earlier in the episode. If you missed that part of the episode, again, all the links are below. Trip protection, safety wing will handle your health and those kind of things. The trip protection will handle, okay, I got to cancel this trip. Okay, this thing happened. I gotta go in a different direction. If you end up buying the the flight, even if it's not a hotel, you know, buying the flight or whatever with these particular cards, they will protect your trip, right? So you got to find ways to work with it. Again, your business is going to be spending money anyway. I'd say, as I said at the top of the show, get into the business programs that the different airlines and other travel providers have. Make sure that your insurance is good so that you're not going on a trip and then losing money on the trip because you end up getting sick, or one of your team members isn't able to make it and then you have to kind of eat the loss. And lastly, here, you want to go ahead and maximize what you're spending. You're going to be taking flights anyway. You're not going to sleep on the street. You're going to have a hotel, right? Like you're going to rent a car. So whether it's Hertz or Enterprise or Alamo, whomever, like they all have programs, and a lot of them also have cards. So depending on, again, where you are financially with your credit score, with your debt, where your business is, and all that, if it makes sense, do it and go for it. And while you're on the road, one of my favorite episodes recently, another live episode, favorite road tripping gear. I shared some of it's super silly, some of it is actually very healthy. But I shared probably about 10 or so different pieces of gear that helped me with my road warrior status. It's like if y'all know me for a while, if you coach with me, if you know me personally, if you read my books, particularly earlier in my life, I spent a lot of time on the road. So trust me on this. The things that I'm recommending will help you out. Thanks again for our sponsor, uh, Navon. We appreciate you and thank you for coming through. For Navon Travel, it's your ultimate manager of your business travel. The link is below. Y'all are getting it for free 99. Come through. It will be your way of being able to organize your business travel. And even as you start to get people and your business gets bigger, again, remember, Navon Travel worked with the big guys and still does. And now they're bringing those services to us. So they're used to managing organizations that have literally tens of thousands of people. If you got an organization of three, they can hook you up. And again, it's free to you, and they get paid through the different travel organizations, the Deltas and so forth that they have a deal with. But to you, it's free. If you're watching your budget, please take advantage of it. Check it out. I already started using them earlier this year. They're worth checking out. Thanks again for allowing Bring Your Worth to come through and for sponsoring the show. Again, my name is Damon Brown. I'm an entrepreneurial coach to side hustlers, solopreneurs, other non-traditional entrepreneurs just like you. If you want to coach with me, feel free to go to damebrown.net and we can go have a session and see if we're a good fit for each other. All my rates and all that stuff is on there. I'm pretty transparent with that. In the meantime, Bring Your Worth show every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. I also have a lot of bonus episodes that come out that are not on Wednesday. Just subscribe and you'll get a little notification when I got some new stuff coming. But if you just want to come to the lives, subscribe for those. You'll get a notification of that. And of course, my latest book, my 27th book, the complete Bring Your Worth collection with my last 7 Bring Your Worth books. Anyway, much love to y'all. Shout out again to the sponsor, Nevin, as well as the other people who have supported this programming. And until next time, remember, you can always bring your worth. You can always build from now. Take care of yourselves and others.